as we expected, Bryan we got some news and information about MLB 16 The Show, one of the games that is regarded by almost everybody that plays sports games as a excellent series, certainly by me, and I believe by you as well. So we got this weekend was the PlayStation Experience, and well, let's just get right into it, shall we? I mean, what did you hear? What did you see what did you read that interested you the most? And, sort of feature by feature, I'm interested to hear what you think.
Yeah, well, first of all, the newsy stuff. Josh Donaldson as the cover athlete, which in my sporting news preview of cover candidates, I correctly predicted he would get the cover. He just fit the profile perfectly of who they've chosen in the past. And then they've changed the name of the series, by the way. I don't know if you noticed it. It's no longer going to be MLB 16 The Show. Now it's MLB The Show 16. Doesn't mean much of anything, but basically they're framing it as MLB The Show as the title now, and then they add the year on at the end. So
setting it up as baseball as a service. They'll just drop the numbered year, whether it's 2 years from now or 4 years from now. Whenever it is that it transforms into a service, it'll be easier to do that now.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it. So they did kind of describe the first features for the game, and they're fairly vague in how they do so, and that's not a surprise considering it's 4 months until this game comes out, or practically 4 months until this game comes out, March 29th. But in the new trailer and in the feature descriptions they put out, there are a few things of note, and the first one they call Showtime, which is I would say it's kind of like a bullet time type of thing from what you see in the trailer and how they have described it here as quick time, almost like a quick time event. But what they specifically said is experience baseball's most epic moments like never before, slow down Gold Glove plays, and come through in the clutch with this empowering tool that allows finer, more focused command. And so with this feature, and I think the general hardcore baseball purist looks at it as probably an arcadey feature. We don't really know enough about it yet. Is it just in Road to the Show when you're a position player, or is it, if that's going to be, that's probably not going to work for an online game, but is that part of your franchise mode? We don't know yet, but it's not really the authentic type of feature we expect from the show. And I don't know if they're trying to go for a different audience with this type of feature. It gives you more ability to make a great play or not, but there's a lot to be learned about this down the line. And the way they build out this game, at the very worst, it's just going to be an option that you can turn off. So nothing really to get concerned about either.
I have zero concern about this at all. I mean, I initially for a minute or two was like, whoa, what's going on? But I'm like, you know what? These guys know what they're doing. I'm sure that it will be able to be used in a way that will be fun. And if you don't want it to be part of your experience, whatever experience that may be, I'm sure it'll be easy to have that be the case. The thing that I actually was thinking of the more was the bigs, right? If you remember in the bigs, you got not really power-ups, but abilities or stuff that you could use at very specific times that you would strategically save up and build up and then use based upon big counts and stuff like that. And that, to me, was one of the things that made that game different and better. So if this is something that you get to use in a certain kind of game that adds a little bit of element of strategy, I'm not only totally cool with that, I'm actually excited about something like that.
Yeah, there's different ways to look at it, and I think more so than maybe getting your the separate games like the bigs anymore, maybe they're just going to trend towards an arcade-style version of the sim games or within the sim games, and that could be a direction they go to. Baseball has such limited appeal, and I say that mostly just because of, again, this is a simulation game is attractive to the baseball purists. That's a limited number of people. The show does not sell a ton. It sells to a very dedicated group of people, though, a very consistent group of people. And they're going to continue to try to expand that, though, and that's probably one way they're looking to do so. Another feature or improvements to a current feature relate to Road to the Show, and we've talked much about this in the past, Rich, about the need for Road to the Show, the career mode in the game, to evolve, because it's happened in other sports games, and it just hasn't happened in the show. It's essentially been the same basic career mode for a decade now. And it doesn't sound like it's changing dramatically. It doesn't sound like it's going to be a story mode like in 2K. What it mentions here is a revamped training system, deeper personalization to acknowledge moments throughout your career, and this one's big, even though it's not really part of the actual playing of the game, is that for the first time ever, you can play an entire series of Road to the Show games without having to go back to the main menu and load back into the game again. And this was more of a problem a couple years ago, when the loading times would be a minute or a minute and a half to get into a single game, which you might only spend 5 to 10 minutes playing as your single player. But last year they improved load times, and it got to more like 30 to 40 seconds. So it wasn't as much of a time drain on you. But regardless, I mean, I don't need to go back to the menu every time, especially as a relief pitcher. I don't need to go back to the menu all the time. I'm not going to use my training points to improve my player after every game. I save those up, and then after a little while, I go and spend them. So that's kind of the most dramatic thing probably for the show there. This was one thing I was going to bring up was, do you think that's enough for the show, or for Road to the Show, or is there, are we going to be left thinking it's just too similar again? Because again, you can carry your saves over from last year, but that means they can't change the mode at its core. Because they have to be able to transfer those saves.
Well, it's interesting because, for as much as I love the MLB The Show video game, I have, as we've talked about, I am completely out on Road to the Show and have been for a couple of years. However, there are many thousands of people who play nothing but Road to the Show every single year, right? So just because the way that I feel, I don't want to be dismissive of the whole thing. I mean, again, I think this is a situation where they know their core group, they literally know the numbers. I mean, they do the analytics. They know exactly how many people play every version of, every mode in the game and how long they stay and how much money they spend, so they get it.
Yeah.
And by the way, I would love to look at that information, what I mean, about all of these games. It would be so enlightening to actually see the real numbers about all of the games.
The only time you hear those numbers is when they're trying to justify an unpopular decision.
That's right. That's right. But as somebody who gets into that information in different businesses, right, just, because I'm always, I'm so fascinated with sports video games, just in particular, would love it. Anyway, but having said that, I think even the most diehard fans of that mode really would like to hear, this is going to make my experience even better. Obviously, the core isn't going to change. I like the acknowledging the big moments, because I remember Gus Ramsey told me a while ago that when his son got like his 3,000th hit in Road to the Show and MLB, they had a nice ceremony, like all the players came out in the field, they had stuff. It's like, okay, that's cool. If they can do more moments like that, but have it be more of a regular occurrence, maybe even just little things. But get out of the purely menu-driven thing. I think that sounds good. And if you're a hitter, right, not a pitcher, if you're a hitter, this not having to go back to the menu, I mean, I've had multiple people say, hallelujah, this is exactly what I want. So I think this is interesting in that they're not fundamentally changing the base, but hopefully adding enough. And, I'm sitting here reading this stuff thinking, I doubt I'll do it. I doubt I'll get back into the show, Road to the Show. But at this point, it's because I've spoiled myself with this sort of hybrid way of playing the game that I've created, which takes the core elements of Road to the Show when you're hitting, which is for the first 5 to 6 innings of every game, I player lock on a single player, take his 2 or 3 at-bats, and then in the 5th or the 6th inning, I'll go and then play the full game. That's my biggest roadblock to playing Road to the Show, because that way that I sort of invented, I'm hooked on it because it's such a great way to play the game in less time and yet influence it. So it'll be interesting. But, I mean, this sounds like something that will have appeal to people who already really like this mode and plan on playing it again because it's their go-to mode.
Yeah, and I mean, I think what's made Road to the Show compelling over the years is just the natural advancement of a baseball player that's from the minors to the majors.
Yep.
And like you said, statistical achievements.
Yes.
What the show Road to the Show has been lacking is the narrative, is the off the field type of stuff. And I'm not going to say it's not going to be there. It might not be there in Road to the Show, but they are, based on the information they sent out, they have 2 brand new modes to announce also. We don't know anything about them.
Yes.
There could be a story mode. There could be anything, something unique of that, like that, as opposed to changing Road to the Show.
Yes.
The whole idea of being able to transfer your saves over, I brought this up like 2 years ago when they introduced the idea, was, well, that means if they want to do something different, they have to start new.
Yep.
They have to do something brand new. So there's the potential for that to happen too. So there are 2 new modes to be announced. We know nothing about them. That'll happen in early 2016 at some point.
And that's why I think this is actually a good thing, right? Because they're investing in the mode. They're giving you more stuff. They know how many people play it, so they have to continue to enhance it. And so, again, I mean, I think this is a positive. Whether it gets me personally to try it out again, maybe. But, again, that's more because of the personal way that I have just sort of fallen in love with playing this game as opposed to anything else.
Yeah, so going beyond all that, there's a few more things of note, and that's they mentioned improvements to graphics, but every year, every game says that.
MLB The Show looks fantastic. Like, if you play that game on a PlayStation 4, you can't help but be like, wow. So, improving a beautiful game, I'm sure that they can do that, and they will do that. Wouldn't be surprised at all.
Yeah, graphics, and then also that they add features and don't remove other ones. So when we're talking about bringing in new modes, you're probably not going to lose what you love in the game already. So those are important points. Also, in the trailer, they released a couple things people noticed. Retractable roofs, which have been missing from the series and for a number of places, but somewhere like Seattle, where it's closed for half the games, And in the show, you've always had open stadiums, even if there's rain coming down. They just didn't have retractable roofs. And then classic stadiums. There was one scene in the trailer, and those we haven't seen classic stadiums since PS3. So if they're coming back in some form, whether that's as, who knows, DLC, or if it's within Diamond Dynasty mode, or any number of ways they can implement them, we're seeing them come back too.
Yeah, and again, I have no idea who this appeals to. It certainly appeals to me. I love baseball. I love baseball history. I'm reading a book right now on Satchel Paige, for example, right? Like, this is just, and classic baseball stadiums, classic baseball teams, classic baseball players. I love that. I know, obviously, the sport of baseball lends itself to that more than any other sport, so obviously I'm not unique. I'm very excited about this because, like you say, it hasn't been in MLB The Show. It's not like I've been clamoring for it, but hearing that, these are classic stadiums are going to be there in some capacity, I think is terrific.
This last year, and if they're going to be involved, you would think the parks that they played in and that they're remembered for playing in could be involved in the future. It's only a natural way to go, I think. And so, as I looked over all this information, the one thing that stood out to me, and it's because I went back and I kind of evaluated the type of information that SCEA, as a publisher, releases for the show this early on. And they release a lot of kind of concrete base features and improvements, new stuff, and they do. And then they expand upon what that means later. So the one glaring thing for me that I think would have been mentioned here, likely would have been mentioned here if something big had been done for it, is commentary. And so that's my one concern at this point, is they could have easily said new commentary team. They wouldn't have had to tell you even anything else, and people would have been excited for it. So I'm a little worried that we're not going to see much done for commentary, and that's probably the biggest area people have been asking for a change in for a long time.
Yeah, I'm not worried for me because I don't really listen to the commentary. But
you don't.
But I'm talking about in any game, right? I don't listen to the commentary in any sports game because when I'm playing a sports game, I am either on my treadmill when I'm listening to music or a podcast, or I'm playing a league game and I'm just not paying attention to the commentary. However, just because I don't, again, this is at the top of the list of what people want from this game. So while I'm not worried about me, I'm certainly worried for the community who, if once again, are subjected to or feel as if they're being subjected to poor or tired commentary, that will be a very vocal complaint. And again, it's not about me, but it's definitely for the guys, at making MLB The Show. Clearly, they hear it too. I mean, if we hear it, they hear it 10 times more. So I'm not writing it off that that's not going to happen. But yes, it early indications are not positive that there will be a whole lot there happening that fans want to see.
Yeah, my go-to when playing the show has become Spotify, and it's different. I don't really do that with any other game, even any other sports game. I don't know. It might just be the pace of baseball that I like listening to music.
Well, also, my favorite way to listen to the game is to have announcing off and just have the ballpark sounds, because then it sounds like you're at the ballpark, and the ballpark sounds are spectacular. Like it just, the crowd in MLB The Show is very specific to where you are, and there's always, just the ballpark sound, the ball hitting the bat, the glove, the sound of that game is awesome. That's that's something else too I should have mentioned.
So one more thing, Rich. There's 3 versions of MLB The Show 16.
Sure.
There's a $60 version where you're going to get the base game and a pre-order.
That's my version.
Yeah,
that's my version.
Pre-order bonus. $70 MVP version where you're getting bonus stubs, which are their virtual currency in the game, and bonus packs, which are cards of players to use like in Diamond Dynasty mode.
Hey, our man TJ loves that stuff, right?
Yeah,
I could care less, but there's a group of people who care a lot. So good, that sounds like if you're going to play that mode, you should get this version, because you'll save, or you'll get more, or you save money on that stuff.
Well, if you play that mode a lot and you spend money in the game a lot, then you might get the $100 digital deluxe.
Absolutely.
Digital deluxe version, Rich, which includes a whole bunch more stubs and a whole bunch more packs of cards. And they've done this. This is not just a show thing. They do this pretty much for every sports game now. And I think it's absurd to me, but at the same time, the value is there for the people who spend hundreds of dollars already in these modes, so I can't fault them for that.
I'm curious, you use the word absurd. What's the absurd part? Like, it just makes
the thought of
spending
$100
on
the first day, right?
Yeah, just because you don't and because I don't. TJ spent more than $30 in Diamond Dynasty. Heck, Owen Good probably spent more than $30 in Dynasty, right? So it makes, again, it's not for you, it ain't for me. I'm not going to play those modes, or if I do, let me rephrase it. I've never spent a dime in any Ultimate Team or Diamond Dynasty ever. Yeah. So to say that I won't in the future is dumb, but I doubt I will, because I have too much fun playing the other modes of the game. But if I did, you're basically pre-purchasing significantly discounted digital stuff. I mean, it makes complete sense.
Yeah, so that's the gist of MLB The Show 16, Rich, here in December. Again, March 29th is the release date. It's coming to PS4 and PS3. No Vita.
Yeah, that's a bummer. That's sad. Again, I don't want to be facetious here, right? I haven't picked up the Vita version for at least a year, and it might be going on 2 years now. So, again, like it's certainly upsetting as somebody who has a Vita and in fact played it today, but I haven't bought the Vita version myself for a couple of years, so I can't really get on my high horse and complain legitimately.
Yeah, well, I think for the most part people are satisfied with the first news on the game. It's a long ways to go. Some of this stuff is really intriguing. Some of it you might have a few question marks about, but if there's one thing we've learned over the years, it's that the show, more than probably any sports game franchise, is one you can rely on to get the basics right and the features right. And they have a great understanding of what people are looking for out of their baseball game.